Morning, Cibolo Valley. Uh, Today I'd like to do kind of a review of the book of Ecclesiastes. Um, a lot of people will ask, why was this thing even in the Bible? It seems so negative to so many. It was written by King Solomon late in life, and he had a sourpuss attitude to that. And again, that's why people will question, why is this downer in the Bible? The theme of the first 10 chapters is stated pretty plainly in chapter 1, verse 2. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Solomon calls himself the preacher in this book and paints a picture through the first 10 chapters of life being a sick joke. He puts himself in the shoes of a secularist, an unbeliever, and examines, as he says in chapter 1, verse 3, everything under the sun. He looks at everything from really an atheist point of view. He spends the first 10 chapters exploring every avenue carnal man tries to gain happiness and fulfillment in. But every path explored seems to end in a dead-end street. Now, in Ecclesiastes 2, 10 and 11, he tells us that every earthly pleasure has been tried by man and found wanting. And he had tried them all. Yes, this life does have pleasures and satisfactions, and we should thank God for them as he does in chapter 2, verses 24 and 25, and chapter 5 and 8:15. But he finds that nothing under the sun can completely and permanently satisfy. Nothing under the sun. In Ecclesiastes 3:11, he tells us God has put eternity in man's heart. He has put a yearning for us, for God, and for it to live forever. This is a foreshadowing of how no matter what earthly pleasure we pursue, they will always give only fleeting pleasure and fulfillment, since they are not what we are constructed to pursue. God put a hole in our being which only he can fulfill. Solomon was the richest man in the world during the 10th century BC, and one of the richest in all history. But he found riches did not give him happiness. That's expounded upon in Ecclesiastes. He married over 700 princesses of renowned beauty, but he found no lasting fulfillment in sex. In most of these marriages, he was unequally yoked, and his wives turned him to idolatry, which led him away from God. He pursued knowledge and found it had its rewards, but none fulfilled him, but only gave him more questions. He asked for worldly wisdom, which God granted him, but he found that the wisdom of the world only gave him permanent answers, whereas his soul yearned for eternal answers. He found toil and work had their rewards, but that in the end all of our accomplishments would fade into the wind and return to dust with us. He yearned for a just world and found that the one he lived in, justice was fleeting and rare. The eternity God put in our heart and we yearn for eternal life, but he knew that we all die and return to the dust, which again seemed to be a sick joke. He explored the vanities of self-sufficiency and pride and found they gave no eternal answers. As king, he knew almost unlimited power and a time of peace for Israel, but that again was only a fleeting pleasure and fulfillment. By the end of chapter 10, he had demolished every means man tries to fulfill himself as complete, and he shows that all is vanity and pride, and none fulfill us completely or permanently. Johnny Carson, host of the Tonight Show for NBC for 3 decades, had fame, fortune, talent, and access to all the pleasures this life affords. He was married to 4 beautiful women, but when asked if he had he was happy near the end of his life, he said, I don't know what that is. He, like Solomon, found that you cannot buy it nor find it in the pleasures of this world. Starting in chapter 11 of Ecclesiastes, the preacher reveals to us he has found that which fulfills us. He tells us to be bold in our pursuits of the Lord and be joyful each day, while sadly reminiscing this is not the way he lived most of his life. Chapter 12 focuses on being godly, since he had spent all of his life proving that the things of this world could not fulfill him. He warns us to focus upon God in our youth when we can do things, so you will not regret your misspent time in the old age as he did. He advises us to fear God and keep his commandments, since this is the only way he found too late in life to truly pursue happiness. Centuries after he wrote Ecclesiastes, Jesus told the Samaritan woman at the well in John 4:13, everyone who drinks from this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks of the water I will give him will never be thirsty again. This eternal answer, following Christ and God, is what both Solomon and Johnny Carson seek to never found. I pray you follow him today, for his ways lead to life everlasting and fulfilling. We're out.